You know the feeling. You are sitting across from someone you have known for years, maybe a best friend, a spouse, a sibling, and you look into their eyes, expecting to find the warmth and familiarity that has always been there. But instead, you hit a wall, a cold, vacant, unrecognizable stare. It sends a chill down your spine because you suddenly realize that even though they look like the person you love, the spirit behind those eyes has shifted. They feel like a stranger. And that distance you feel isn't just emotional, it's a spiritual warning signal going off in your gut. We need to talk about what is actually happening in those moments. Because if your intuition is screaming that something sinister is influencing someone close to you, you are likely not imagining it. The Bible is explicit that our reality is not just flesh and blood. It is a constant, invisible friction between spiritual forces. But before we diagnose the darkness, we have to lay down a critical ground rule. We are complex beings. We are spiritual souls housed in biological machines. And because of that, discerning the difference between a spiritual attack and a mental health crisis requires wisdom, not just reaction. So, we are going to walk through the 7 specific, undeniable signs that a dark influence has taken root in someone's life and exactly how you need to respond to protect your own energy while fighting for theirs. The first red flag is the most jarring because it feels like a violation of their identity. It is a drastic, unexplained personality shift. We aren't talking about someone having a bad week or being moody. We are talking about a fundamental rewrite of their character code. The person who was once defined by compassion and patience suddenly operates with a shocking level of cruelty and self-centeredness. It's as if their empathy has been surgically removed. You might notice them actually deriving pleasure from other people's misfortune or responding to your pain with a cold, detached numbness. This is a devolution. A spiritual journey toward light makes a person more of who they were meant to be, more vibrant, more distinct. Dark influence does the opposite. It flattens a person. It corrupts the fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, and replaces them with cynicism and destruction. However, we have to look at this through a dual lens. Sudden personality changes are also the loudest siren for neurological issues or psychological conditions like bipolar disorder. Encouraging them to see a doctor isn't dismissing the spiritual. It is the most practical way to love them. You cover them in prayer, yes, but you also drive them to the clinic. The second sign acts like a black hole. It is a pervasive, overwhelming negativity that swallows everything in the room. This goes far beyond being a pessimist. This is a spirit of hopelessness that feels heavy, almost suffocating. When you are around them, you feel your own energy draining away. They become trapped in a loop of self-destruction, constantly voicing that they are worthless or that the future is dead on arrival. In spiritual warfare, we call the enemy the accuser for a reason. His tactic is to bombard the mind with lies until the victim accepts those lies as their own thoughts. This often manifests as a thick mental fog, an inability to concentrate or make simple decisions. But again, you must be sharp here. Persistent hopelessness and cognitive fog are textbook clinical definitions of severe depression. Your role is not to play doctor. It is to be a bridge to professional help. You cannot pray away a chemical imbalance any more than you can pray away a broken leg, but you can pray for the wisdom to treat it. Then there is the third tactic, which is ripped straight from the playbook of any predator in the wild: isolation. Watch closely if your friend starts cutting ties with their support system. A dark influence knows that a target is easier to take down when they are alone. They will start dodging the people who speak truth into their lives. They disappear from church, they ghost their small groups, and they avoid friends who have strong character. This is a strategic retreat into darkness. They hide because they feel shame, or because the influence controlling them doesn't want to be challenged by the light you carry. They might even manufacture arguments just to have an excuse to push you away. But socially withdrawing is also a massive scream for help regarding social anxiety or trauma response. When they pull back, your instinct might be to let them go. Don't. Keep sending the text. Keep extending the invite. Be the constant they are trying to escape, because eventually they will need a way back. For those of faith, the fourth sign is perhaps the most heartbreaking. It is the sudden death of spiritual hunger. If this person used to find life in worship or peace in Scripture, and now they treat those things with apathy or open hostility, pay attention. The primary objective of dark forces is to sever the connection between the soul and its source. You will see them rationalize behavior that they used to know was harmful. They will rewrite their own moral code to justify the path they are slipping down. Now, do not confuse this with a dark night of the soul, where a believer feels distant from God but is still desperately seeking Him. This is different. This is an act of fleeing. This is a rejection. And clinically, we have to consider anhedonia, the medical symptom where a depressed brain loses the ability to feel joy in anything, including their faith. Your job here isn't to preach at them, it's to hold the line of faith for them when they have abandoned it. The fifth sign is the resurrection of dead ghosts. You will see the resurgence of old, conquered, destructive habits. We are talking about the addictions, the lying, the toxic patterns they fought so hard to beat years ago. Suddenly, they are back. And they are back with a vengeance. The enemy is a strategist. He knows exactly where the cracks in the armor used to be, and he targets those old wounds to induce shame. The goal is to make the person feel like their freedom was a lie, that they never really changed. If you see this relapse, drop the judgment immediately. They are already drowning in shame. They don't need a lecture, they need a lifeline. Remind them that a slip is not a death sentence. Remind them of who they are, not what they are doing. Number 6 is physical. It is an unexplained, crushing exhaustion. We aren't talking about being tired after a long day. We are talking about a spiritual and emotional fatigue that sleep does not fix. They wake up drained. Their limbs feel heavy. Warfare is expensive. It costs energy. The enemy wants to wear out the saints until they are too tired to resist. This might come with nightmares or sleep paralysis, terrifying experiences that feel deeply spiritual. But this is where you must be the voice of reason. Chronic fatigue, thyroid issues, sleep apnea, these are medical realities that wreck the body and mind. To assume this is purely spiritual without checking the physical is dangerous. Urge them to get blood work. Urge them to see a specialist. Cover the physical bases so you can fight the spiritual battle with clarity. And finally, the 7th sign is the hallmark of the enemy, a pattern of deception and manipulation. The person you trusted starts twisting reality. They lie about small things. They gaslight you when you ask a simple question. They play the victim to make you feel guilty for noticing their bad behavior. Satan is the father of lies, and his influence always breeds confusion. Psychologically, this mirrors narcissistic personality disorder or trauma responses. But the result is the same. It makes them unsafe to be around. And this leads us to the hardest part of this conversation. How do you actually help? You cannot be passive. First, you pray, but you pray with precision. You bind the influence of the enemy and you loose the spirit of clarity over their mind. Second, you push for professional help. You normalize therapy. You say, I love you enough to tell you that you need a doctor. Third, you must armor up. You cannot pull someone out of a swamp if you aren't standing on solid ground yourself. If you engage with their darkness while you are empty, it will consume you too. Fourth, speak the truth, but rapid in love. Confrontation is not unloving. Letting them destroy themselves is unloving. And finally, and most importantly, you set boundaries. You can forgive someone and still not allow them access to hurt you. You can love them from a safe distance. Boundaries are not punishment, they are protection. Watching someone you love transform into a stranger is a unique kind of grief. But you are not helpless. You are the lighthouse. You are the variable in their equation that points back to the light. Do not underestimate the power of simply remaining steady when they are spinning out of control. The darkness is real, but the light is stronger. Stand your ground.